Coming to you from Strings and Things Studio in Ventura, California, I'm Anne.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Karin.
And this is the Strings Unraveled Book Club.
Yay.
Good readings, everybody.
Yeah.
How's it going?
It's going okay. Happy Pie Day.
Happy Pie Day. I'm in a pretty good mood because it's still sunny outside. Yeah, pretty good.
I brought apples to work today. And I told everyone, Happy Pie Day. Here's your pre-apple pie.
Here's some ingredients for a DIY Pie Day celebration.
Or eat this fresh apple and daydream about apple.
Yeah. James and I had a discussion this morning when he was getting ready for work. We were talking about Pie Day. And I was like, for Pie Day, can I have cheesecake? Is that a pie? And he told me, no, it's not.
I was thinking
it is a pie.
It's a tart.
It's tarts.
But that's not cake.
It's definitely not cake. And it's not
pie.
pie.
I think a tart is a pie.
I agree. And I have...
It's a form of pie.
So we were having this debate at a family gathering a few months ago. Like, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
So one of the cousins came up with a very good litmus test for these types of questions.
Okay.
If you were served something, a hot dog per se,
Right.
And you had ordered a sandwich and a hot dog appeared,
Could you be mad about it?
would you be surprised?
Yeah.
that this was
If somebody told me we were having, and I love cheesecake and I love pie, but if somebody told me, oh, we're going to have pie for dessert and they served me cheesecake, I would probably say, this isn't pie.
Okay.
I'd be excited because I love
they both
cheesecake.
have crust. They both have crust.
right?
But cheesecake only has crust on the bottom. Most of the time.
Most of the time.
I Googled it. The internet told me it was a tart.
Which is a tart of
It's
pie
a,
now.
It's a type of pie.
I don't know. I'm going to have to Google that next.
It is a subculture of pie.
We're going down a rabbit hole.
It's not. I just know cheesecake is not cake.
No, it's not
Cheesecake
cake.
is not cake.
It's definitely not
Totally
cake.
misnomed.
And in some circles, it may not be pie, but in
A
all circles,
custard
it's tart.
pie?
Well, it's close. It's not a custard, though.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it has
for
a lot
sure.
of. But it has egg.
Yeah, but it's...
But it's not. It's not a custard.
We have this
though.
great
Custards have a
debate.
certain...
Oh, it's called a chess pie.
A chess pie?
A chess pie is not cheesecake, but it is a custard, but it's somewhere between a cheesecake and like with a cheesy texture. And a chess pie does have a type of cheese in it.
Yes, it does.
Gotcha.
But it's got also a custardy type because some cheesecakes may have a layer of custard with them. It depends on the cheesecake. Like you can get a lemon meringue cheesecake at Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah.
You can get pretty much anything.
We have this great debate in my family about soup versus stew versus chili.
Soup,
Yeah.
stew, chili. Okay, what is the boundary?
Like
line
when
there?
does it stop becoming soup and when is it a stew? And is a chili a soup or is a chili a stew? And then it's all like we got very much into like a big gray area about where
Chili
one
is
starts
chili.
and ends.
Chili is chili.
But what makes it chili?
I think it's chili if it's got ground beef, but some chilies have small cubed meats.
Yeah.
And the question is it
I was
really
doing
chili if it
shredded
has
chicken
beans?
for a while.
Because
Oh,
some
yeah.
people don't.
It's only
Chili
meat.
with beans.
Yeah, it's not.
Except then
No, it's-
sometimes
but
it's
you
like-
get chili beans.
Chili con carne.
That's
is
what I'm going to say.
No,
but then
that
it's
is
chili con carne.
Chili
With
beans.
No, carne is meat.
No. Oh, con carne.
Chili
Duh.
with beans.
Not con
Or
frijoles.
chili
Con
with
frijoles. Con
meat.
frijoles.
Anyway, we're way off topic.
Oh, it's dinner time.
I wanted to take a sec to say thank you to our sponsor of today's episode, which is Magic Mind. If you listened to our last podcast, our March episode, you heard us talking about Magic Mind. They are a company that makes these little green juice shots that are good for energy and focus and lots of good stuff. So if you
tasty, it delivers on what it promises.
yeah, if you like me have trouble not going for afternoon coffee and need a little pick-me-up, it's like if I have my Magic Mind in the morning with or without my coffee, I feel pretty well focused the rest of the day.
So I got some. I put them in my fridge. They're nice and chilled because it says best chilled, but you can enjoy it anytime. And I wish I had it because I ran out the door without it because I looked at all the ingredients and it is everything green that I love.
Yeah.
Everything for focus. I like that the ingredients tell you exactly what each thing does. Mm-hmm. It's not just, these are magic things that do lots of good things. So they're very specific.
Yeah, it's not
Lion's
snake oil.
Mane does
It's,
something.
here's all the
Ashwagandha
things.
does something. They are very specific about the ingredients. And I've had coffee with that, but I like that this is I love green juice, and I love and so it's my favorite color. It's all my favorite ingredients. And so
Good
when
for
I get
productivity.
home, I'm going to have it.
Yeah. Well, Magic Mind is full of good stuff that actually does stuff, real ingredients like
Super
matcha
great.
and, like Karin said, ashwagandha and, all those
And they're
good
all
stuff.
ingredients that have a proven record of doing what it says it does.
Yeah, so if you want to check it out for yourself, you can go to magicmind.com/stringsunraveled. So you can get up to 56% off of your subscription. If it's your first time signing up for a subscription, or you could get 20% off of any thing from their multi-pack or whatever, 20% off by using the coupon code STRINGS20 at checkout. And again, that is magicmind.com/stringsunraveled, and use the coupon code STRINGS20. Yeah. So thank you, Magic Mind, for sponsoring us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are you guys working on?
Well, I am making, I think, the best scrap blanket of all time.
Oh.
So it came across, very rarely do I make the thing that is sent from Pearl Soho. Sadly, I'm not doing it in their yarn. They have the cutest linen quill minis. Have you guys seen these?
No.
Mm-mm.
They're adorable. And it's linen quill.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole rainbow, every color. I don't know how many yards in
There's
each
a
one.
lot of colors.
Yeah, but it's every color, and they're these little like bonbons of linen quill.
Nice.
And the pattern they recommended when they sent it out, they had a couple of things, but the incredible blanket. And I had all these greens and browns, and I'm making this blanket as a gift. And it's 2 rows of each color. They recommend knitting in the ends as you go, but it's kind of this, it's a knit one below pattern, so you could also kind of equate it to a slip stitch pattern for how the rhythm of the stitches are. And so it's not like, I don't like how the ends are looking when I knit them in as I go. I'm already kind of like meh about that as a technique anyway. But there will be ends every 2 rows.
Yeah.
But this time it's worth it.
Okay. So why is it so great?
Yeah.
Look at it.
It is pretty great.
It reminds me of my favorite crochet stitch, but it's knitting.
Good texture.
Right. So it's kind of making a spike stitch is how I describe it. If you were making it equivalent to a crochet stitch, only it's flexible knitting fabric. And the rows are really soothing. It's a 4-row repeat. Yeah, it's very similar to the fabric that Karen's crocheting. And I'm just having a grand old time.
Nice. What, are you just using scraps and like fun
Yeah,
colors?
they're
or?
just all bunch of greens and browns that I pulled from the end of the stash exchange this year.
Nice.
It's like a forest walk.
Yeah.
You've got some of the little dappled browns, and you got all shades of green, little bits of blue green.
All of our projects work very well together.
Yeah,
color-wise.
They coordinate nice.
What are you making, Karin?
So before we get to that, I have a question about your feelings. You briefly brought up about your feelings about weaving in the ends.
Yeah, so I don't like knitting in ends as I go.
Do you feel like it changes the tension, or do they just visually?
It's not, I just don't trust them as well. Like I have done it a little bit because there's one row where it's easier to do it, and then the other row you can't do it for like the first 3 stitches. So why?
Right.
Then you have like a float, and then you're weaving in. And the pattern says leave like a 2-inch tail.
What?
Which is not enough to even do the weaving in.
No way.
So, like, I'm just going to do one sequence.
That's Pearl Soho.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, it is what it is. You could try it. Also, to be fair, linen quill is thinner than what I'm working in.
Right. It's probably less noticeable.
The gauge in the pattern is like 26 stitches per 4 inches, and I'm doing 16. So when you have smaller needle, smaller yarn, 2 inches is going to go a lot further.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like linen quill's a little grabbier too, so
That's
it might
true.
hold the yarn itself. 2 inches still feels like it's a little short, but it might hold its place.
Right. So I'm just going to do that easy peasy, like insert the needle first.
Yeah.
Thread it like so that the eye ends up where the tail is. Thread it
Yep.
and pull the needle through and it'll be zoomy.
Yep.
I mean, it's not that bad in the places I did it. It's just so fiddly. And my opinion could change. I am making this for one of my tall sons, and I'm aiming for 80. I decided today it would be 84 inches long. If I did the math of, like, I like the width that the pattern's supposed to end up, which is 51 inches.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the math, so it should work out to be a 51-inch width, but I want it, you know, these tall guys don't find blankets that go head to toe very often.
Yeah.
So I've got a long way ahead because I don't even think I have the first foot in. But it's fun. I took it to watch Dune. It was
Nice.
Good movie theater knitting. I have a mistake in the first 4 rows. Don't care.
Doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
I saw that movie and I was waiting for that movie, but we watched it on a night when I had so much going on that day, and I might have watched the movie with my eyes closed a couple times and missed some.
Wow.
Because by the time we went to a later evening movie, so I'll have to watch it again. But
it's worth watching.
it's worth watching again.
We went on
Little movie
Sunday
plug.
night, which this Sunday was the time change, and I'm not suffering, but my husband, who is like needs 8 hours of sleep every night, was like, "Whose idea was that?" Spoiler: it was his idea. I just didn't veto it because I didn't want to wait another week.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of a better time that we could go see an almost 3-hour movie we were
Right.
not going to see this movie during the week.
I think it was a little bit longer. Maybe by the time we got the credits, or maybe because we got there so early.
Well, the runtime is 2 hours and 46 minutes. I looked it up before going. So I'm like, what am I committing to? How many balls of yarn do I need to take into the theater to carry me through the movie?
Because you might actually have to watch the movie if you ran out of project.
Right. Which I watched the movie anyway. That's why this was a good movie theater. It's the pattern row and then a knit row and then a pattern row and a knit row. It's great. The trailers went over 20 minutes, which that's pretty customary.
Mm-hmm.
So like we went to 8 o'clock showing. It didn't start until somewhere between 8:20 and 8:30. And then, I mean, there's no reason to stay for all those credits. So probably the trailers versus leaving during the start of the credits is a balance.
Well, you know what? Because we went to that same hour, but like on a Thursday night, and they turned the lights up during the credits.
Well,
they wanted.
I
They're
have
like,
a
okay,
feeling.
people, get out.
Right. Well, also I have a feeling with such a visually stunning movie that there's
no little extras at the end.
there were none. Yes, we double checked that.
Yeah. Google that first before you leave.
And Kevin was like nada, so we left. But there had to have been a half an hour of credits in that easily, because there's so many effects and so
many
into
hands
that.
upon that. So,
but I loved it.
Cool.
Love Dune. I did embarrass my son a little bit because I just couldn't help myself. Because first, there were these people sitting in front of us. That's why I don't go to the movies anymore. This guy threw his seat all the way back. And I'm like, you're somebody who reclines all the way for like an 8-hour flight, aren't you? So like I had no more leg room.
Did you say that, or you just thought that in your
head?
head?
So I didn't say anything. They were also talking to each other the whole time.
That's so rude.
And I mean, Dune is very cool and is a complicated world, but it is actually not that complicated. And I think that this portrayal of it makes it pretty digestible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All of the relationships are pretty clear. There are a lot of Easter eggs for people who are, big fans of the world.
Yeah.
But it's pretty clear. And this lady in front kept whispering to her husband, like, who are they now? What do they do?
That would be me in the movies.
You know what? You have to, I would say, go read the book.
Well,
It'll all be revealed to you if you don't get it through the movie.
Thanks for saying
Let
those
the
exact
movie,
words.
go read the book.
So I didn't say anything to these people.
Oh, you're a lot nicer. I might have, I wouldn't have. In my head, I'd be screaming at him, but I wouldn't actually say anything.
But my aggravation levels were pretty high.
Yeah, I get it.
I was waiting for Kevin to be done in the bathroom, and Dante came with us, and there was these other two people who were talking loudly of like, what do you think the third movie's gonna be? You think it'll be the space battles? And I'm like, have you even read those books? And the
There's no space
I did
battle.
say it out loud.
You did.
Yeah, I said it out loud.
Yeah.
And so the guy, because the next movie's after the war. The war happens off screen.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know what Denis Villeneuve, is that right? Whatever.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, you're not into
You're not talking about House Atreides or the...
I'm talking about the director.
Oh, the director,
We do not
yeah.
know what he plans to do exactly next, but it is stated it will be the second book, which omits the actual war.
Yeah.
Anyway, I couldn't help myself. So then Dante was mad at me for like 2 days. When I said that out loud.
I've never been so proud of you. I have never been so proud of you.
I will shush a person in a movie theater.
Yeah.
I will absolutely shush
Because we all know that's the rule.
Yes.
Like, it's not like I wish you would be quiet. It's you have to be quiet.
Right.
You're not.
Right.
Look,
Yeah.
you want to talk.
You could have your questions, Katie. I do not judge anyone.
I try and
for
be
having
discreet
their
about it.
Yeah.
If you want to talk, wait till it comes out and watch it at home.
Oh, yes.
If you're in a community viewing, be mindful of the community.
But I don't think people get this anymore.
whisper
Hey guys,
quietly.
we're here to talk about a book today.
No, we are talking about
a book.
Okay, you're right.
We are.
All right.
We didn't read this book.
Okay.
Because I don't know what you're talking
So
about.
I took this blanket to Dune
Yes.
too.
Cool.
Okay.
That's how
So-
we got there.
So, and the stitch that's on your blanket is also is a knit
It's
version
a
of the
visual-
crochet one on
visual
mine. So you see, we're
similarity.
transitioning
Yeah,
now.
Right. Okay. So what are you working on, Karen?
I am making a Libra bag by Crochet Highway. I really have discovered that I really like her patterns, and so I've been buying them. I like that she takes the time, she finds a stitch and she explores how many ways she can use this stitch, and she has these really creative ways. This stitch is so beautiful. It's like a spike stitch over a gradient of 6 different colors. But the bottom of the bag, and it's crochet, but the bottom of the bag has what looks like a knit stitch because of the way you work instead of working under the top 2 legs, you're working between the 2 parts that come up and are capped by the top 2 legs.
I just did the colorwork class with
Oh,
a couple people.
Oh, that's a crochet one? I thought you
Yeah.
did that.
Nope, it's crochet.
Because the stitch is
the same
just-
stitch.
I love that stitch.
It is. It's hard to establish.
The very beginning, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Once you
way
get,
fun.
once you get just a little bit past that center, then it just goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that, and I do like it does. It's a little thicker, but for a bag bottom
You want that.
in a cotton, it's got a nice sturdiness to it. And I'm in the first of 3 sections of the last color, and then I'll be doing the top. One of the things I like about the bag, besides she gives you instructions on how to line it, it's actually in here. But one of the things about knit or crochet bags that I've made, it kind of turned me off from them, is the strap. The strap stretch, because I like to overload my bags, and then the strap cannot handle it and it stretches. But she's brilliant. She has you working fishing line into the sides. It's the edges it's clear, so it's not going to show, and it
I was
adds
just
stability.
thinking about how your hands are going to feel.
Well, no, you're going to go around it. You're
not
crocheting.
crocheting with
You're not
it.
crocheting
Stitch.
with it. You're crocheting around it in the center. So it goes along the edges,
Neat.
and it helps add stability to. Plus, it's got hardware.
Yeah.
I lo-
You're a sucker for the hardware.
I am. I didn't really get into bags and hardware until I saw Katie making bags, and she had like the best. It's like jewelry for your bags. So, I don't wear much regular jewelry, but I wear them on my projects. So, that is what's in my hands.
What are you working on,
Katie?
I am making a sleeve. I am.
That's exciting that you're onto the sleeve.
Yes, I finished the body of
Woohoo!
my land o' cakes, and I am maybe halfway through sleeve number 1.
Nice.
I have I don't know how many stitch markers this is. More of decreases I have to do, or increases, excuse me. But yeah, not the most exciting.
Is Land
Knitting.
O'Cakes a drop shoulder, or how does it? Is it like does the sleeve come all the way up the cap, or does it just come like a lot of drop shoulders come like midway the
No,
arm?
it's a yoke.
A yoke.
Yeah,
So the yoke also kind of comes midway up.
it's
On
like
the
the
upper
opposite
arm.
of like a top down, but it's bottom up. Yeah, cool. Well, what did we read this month, Anne?
We read We Deserve Monuments by Jazz Hammonds. So the first thing I'm going to do before I do anything else is I want to apologize in case Jazz ever listens to this, because I never read their bio.
Oh.
And I used the wrong pronouns when I talked about Jazz last time. So Jazz's pronouns are they, them. So if you ever listen, I am heartfully sorry. My pronouns are she, her.
We would have been respectful of that if we had known that at the time.
Absolutely. So that is done. I figured out why. So Karin, you said, "Oh, are they local?" And
right, because you saw them at the bookstore.
Right. I saw Jazz at Timber, where they were very politely asking if they could sign the books that were in the store. And Jazz is a flight attendant.
Oh, cool.
Oh, cool.
Which may be why
they just
they
visit
were here
every
in
bookstore.
Los Angeles adjacent in Ventura.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that kind of makes sense. I have no idea where the author is based otherwise. I did find an author interview in a DC public library, but the sound didn't record.
Oh.
And so it was like,
it's just visual, and
what I think, it was a live stream during the pandemic. This book came out in late 2022. It was live streamed and and then recorded, like live streams automatically become a YouTube video when they're done. And the audio was not working because you can see the live stream comments still, and people started saying, "Hey, why isn't the audio working?"
That's a bummer.
So I gave up on it because it was looking at two lovely people discussing the book, and I'm not a lip reader, sadly, so I have no idea. I am going to share. Also, I was checking out Jazz's website, and in their books they list content warnings, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah,
it's not trigger warnings, it's content warnings.
Yeah.
And I think everything I've seen in promotion of this book has been like very sensitive to everyone's accessibility to it. Okay. Because all of the pictures on their website have the captioning to describe what's in the picture. On this video I could not watch when the sound worked intermittently, everything was closed captioned. And so then the content warnings, I think, are also another sensitivity. So there's a lot. And one of the things that I thought about this book is it's very of its time.
Yes, it is.
So We Deserve Monuments contains depictions of racism, colorism, homophobia, non-consensual outing, abusive family dynamics, terminal illness, death, grief, alcoholism, drug use, murder off-page, strong language, content, mentions of COVID, and fatphobic comments. Please read with care. I could not find any lengthier summaries, so I'm just going to reread the book jacket as I did last week, in case you missed, or last month, in case you missed my intro to it then. What's more important, knowing the truth or keeping the peace? When her family moves to Bardell, Georgia, on the cusp of her senior year, Avery Anderson is uprooted from D.C. and thrust into the hostile home of her terminally ill grandmother, Mama Letty. The tensions between Avery's mom and Mama Letty makes for a frosty arrival and reveals a decades-old conflict they refuse to talk about. Every time Avery tries to look deeper, she's turned away, leaving her desperate to unearth the secrets that divide her family. While tempers flare at home, Avery finds friendship in unexpected places, with Simone Cole, her captivating next-door neighbor, and Jade Oliver, a member of the town's most prominent family whose mother's murder remains unsolved. As the three girls grow closer and Avery and Simone's friendship blossom into romance, the sharp-edged opinions of their small southern town begin to hint at something insidious underneath. Avery soon discovers her family's roots are deeply entwined with Bardell's racist past. With Mama Letty's health dwindling every day, Avery must decide if digging for the truth is worth toppling the delicate relationship she's built, or if some things are better left buried.
Nice.
So, first question as usual.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like this book? What did you think of this book?
I really liked this book. I think it leans a little like young adult, which I always enjoy a young adult novel. It's a little bit...
Same.
I feel like they're in some ways a little bit lighter, but also have a lot of like feeling to them.
Yeah.
Like, because it's usually about teenagers and their feelings are a little more concentrated. So there's a lot of heart
at the top of their mind.
Yeah.
Their feelings come along with their thoughts.
I'm not saying that this book is light because it's rather heavy, but it has a lot of heart to it, and I found it like sweet and sad, and it made me cry, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yes.
I really liked it.
I thought there's a lot of really hard topics that are very relevant and gut-wrenching, and I was like all for these characters. Everyone, Mama Letty, the mom. I mean, the dad was sort of in the background, but I kind of think he was peripheral to the story. He came in and out as a support cast, but there's a generational thing. I love the generational ties between the three generations of women, and how people handle trauma and hard things differently. So yeah, I'm all for this book. I enjoyed the walking through the emotions with the characters. Yes. It's not I enjoy this. It made me laugh and cry, but it was more, I just walking through these. I thought, wow, if I could approach grief in this very real way that they're doing it, they're walking through it, and I love her tenacity that I need to know these things.
Yeah,
your way didn't work. Now we're going to try something new, please.
Well, I think the main character, Avery, is identity seeking as any 17-year-old is, and that I agree that tenacity is very likable for her. Would you recommend this book to someone?
Yeah, I would.
I did today.
I would.
Yeah.
My son's girlfriend and I were talking about books about grief. She recently read what I think a group favorite, This Thing Between Us.
Yeah.
And she loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure. I didn't catch the meaning of the title, but the author brings it in so meaningfully.
Close to the end.
Yeah. Close to the end. But the tie-in really helps. It really was well. I thought it was well done.
Yes. What reader would most enjoy this book, do you think?
What reader?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think I chose to ask this question only to be able to say I think that this, like, where are our Lois Lowrys and where are our who for this generation of young adult readers is tackling these tough issues of their time and their hearts.
Right.
I think that Jazz has a opening, and I hope that they realize that they could be a voice for this generation. They're a very strong voice for this generation.
Yeah, I don't read enough young adult to know that. I'm sure there are many others, but I think that this is a book that would work well for, there's 3 different generations of women in this family. I think it's, I think the book is geared toward young adult readers, but I think anybody of any age could enjoy it.
Yep. I agree.
And I also believe that it's pretty a universal experience. It's not like, these are 3 women in the story, but it's the
generational ties.
I feel like it's a
coming
something
of age
that
ties.
people could relate to. Yeah.
And I think the time clock, the time ticking on Mama Letty was we're not putting this off anymore. This is it. I think some generations might drag it out, but I like that there was this okay, we don't have time to drag things out and sweep things under the rug anymore. So I can see that. I know that there's some people that might be I think if you're an older person, it depends on your worldview if you're going to connect with this or not. If you're a more open person, you will totally connect with the richness of the story.
Well, the way that Mama Letty evolves, I think that any reader who's in a generation corresponding to her role in this story
Mhm.
could have the same evolution. But you're
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
they'd have
Yeah.
to be have some level of open-mindedness
Yeah.
to be willing to approach it.
Yeah.
She has no choice, Mama.
Right.
her daughter and her granddaughter are in her living room.
Right, they're there.
And
gotta
her
figure it out.
mortality
They are
is
literally
barreling down
in her
upon
business.
Yeah.
Up in her business.
So Mama Letty didn't. I mean, she does have a choice. She could have
does.
been a growling, angry monster to the end.
Right. She was at the beginning.
Right.
But Avery became even though she was the youngest, she was the bridge that helped bring Mama Letty and her mom together.
How, if at all, did this book relate to your own life? Did it evoke any memories or create any connections for you?
It's not necessarily like there's a lot to talk about in this book, right? It's like, do you want to talk about the teenage experience? Do you want to talk about grief and your grandparent dying? Do you want to talk about the experience of being a gay person in the South? Like, there's a lot of ways that you could relate to the story. I think the only way that it like struck a chord with my own personal experience was just teenager dumb, right?
Which was sort of a fun mind place
Yeah.
to revisit.
Yeah. Like how do teenagers think
Yeah.
and being in high school and
The stress of that senior year, the choices you're making that you think are going to define your forever.
right.
I did shave my head between junior and senior year. So the fact that her like snotty DC friends were like, no, how will it look? Well, I didn't call anybody and tell them. I just did
You just
it.
did it.
I was in Bible college when I shaved my head.
There's that moment of like, okay.
I was so happy for her when she did too.
Yes.
Too.
Yes. I would not have alternately gotten a lip ring instead, though.
No, I thought she already had the lip ring.
Well, she chose the lip ring instead of shaving her head.
The first time
Initially.
around.
Initially.
When she was thinking about it and her DC friends talked her out of it.
I love her grandma's name for her.
Yes.
I mean, I love that she bonded to that, even, and it was like a special thing between the two of them. And the mom's like, "What in the world?"
Yeah.
She's like, "No, it's okay."
Remember that first day when she was making fun of me?
And I'm okay with that. I'm not hating that. So.
The part that it was most keenly affected me is the tension between the mom and the daughter.
Yeah.
Mama Letty and Zora, because like that's where I am. I'm a middle-aged woman with a lot of tension with my own mom. And sometimes it's like, are we just gonna like, is this the level of closeness we're gonna have until one of us dies, or am I gonna try harder? We'll see. But that's where it was.
That's where you were relating.
My heart was, there's all that stuff that you live through, and then you're on the other side of it, and how is your relationship going to heal or grow or not?
I kind of felt for both of them.
Yeah.
At first, they don't tell you why Mama Letty struggled with drinking and why she had, until you got the story unfolds and you hear that's where grief took her, and because they never spoke about it, they had this tension until finally the mom was like, "You were horrible to me. I never got to have you as a mom, and I had to go through my life with you always having to apologize for you. You know, you traumatized me." But she didn't say you were a horrible person. She still loved her mom. Does she? Does she kind of tell her?
No, she doesn't, because that's another question.
Farther down. Okay.
Actually, it's my very next thing. Did you highlight any passages from the book? What were your favorite quotes or any favorite scenes or moments?
I didn't highlight anything because I listened to it, but
you didn't bring out your highlighter?
No, some apps you can do that. You can like add a little stamp, but I listened to it relatively quickly over the past like 3 days or so it was a very concentrated experience. Like I just finished it this afternoon, so I would say I don't have anything that like sticks out right in my mind right now, because I'm just sort of trying to figure out what happened.
You're still digesting.
Right?
Well,
Okay.
especially
I had some.
because like I I read to page 190.
Uh-huh.
And then I started to run out of time. And then I got the audiobook. So about half the book I read, and then the rest I listened on 1.5 speed, which I'm noticing, as a side note, that the more you listen to books at 1.5 speed, when you then go to listen to a book at 2, it's not that crazy.
I was listening at 1.75.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was easy. Like, I don't know if this reader reads slowly or if she just like enunciates well, because I didn't have a problem at all.
No, it was. I listened at 1.5 because I had the luxury of already being finished.
Yes,
like halfway finished, and it was a very like even pace.
Yeah.
Okay, so I love her deciding to get the lip ring over shaving her head, because I'm like, well, I did shave my head at that point. I'm going to share my favorite.
Okay.
You can share your favorites. I guess my favorite times in the book revolve around the Renaissance and when that comes in.
Yeah.
This is more of the like arrow to my heart of dealing with my own hostilities to my mother. I agree. I suppose my favorite parts are the most painful parts. I agree. This is Avery's mother, Zora, talking. She shouldn't have had to prove anything, I said. Her word is proof enough. That's Avery. I agree, but you have to understand what it was like growing up in a house with her. Losing Ray changed her, Avery. If there was ever a soft side to her, I never saw it. She was drunk my entire childhood. When I keep saying this relates to my mom is not a drunk. She does not have an alcohol problem. She was always yelling at me, always making me feel awful for existing. Her eyes pooled with tears, and I reached for her hand. So the fact that you were sharing, Karin, just now that like Zora never does that to her mom is really special. That to speak to, I mean, we don't really get to know Zora's state of mind very much, but that's a really interesting thing to point out, that this thing she shares, she never does to her.
She loves her mom, but she doesn't say you're a horrible person. She's, you hurt me. This way that you were hurt. She's sharing her pain without it using it as a weapon.
Yeah.
She's not weaponizing that pain.
Beautiful. That's nice.
And I think it's good for us to remember. I also like the Renaissance, but I also like this parallel that she had, that when Zora was young, she and her best friend had their own secret spot, in the same way that Avery is introduced to a secret spot that Jade and Simone had. Right, Simone? Right?
Jade and Simone.
Jade and Simone had, and I love that they just drew her in and included her.
I kept getting stuck on that of like, it's realistic, but then like, it's not that it's not realistic. I guess it just shone the light on like how adolescence is this feverish time where you're with these people and you make these fast, tight friendships, because that does happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't happen with my generation, but there's different generations that connect with each other differently.
I thought that these people I was going to high school with were people who I was so intensely connected to that they would be in my life forever. Oh. And that is true about some of them, that I'm still connected to 3 core people. But the intensity of those friendships I felt like it was realistic, and yet now through the prism of time, it feels unreal.
It was interesting how quick they were to adopt her when the two of them had been friends since they were so young and were so tight with each other. That it was surprising to me when they did take her in so quickly and easily.
And there was no tension, because when you have that duality kind of friendship and a third person comes in,
there's jealousies and weird things and,
and especially I guess when you look at the history that Jade's family has, you think, oh, well, would there be a power dynamic? Except Jade never was in a place of power, because her mother was not there. Her mother was not really the plantation wife family. That was her father, and probably a second wife, mistress, whatever.
My second thing that I loved, and I think I really want to start adopting saying this to people. When Arnie's saying goodbye to Zora and Avery after they've had lunch there. My sweet girls, you are loved so much. Please be gentle with yourself. Mm-hmm. You hear that, Zora? I'm telling your daughter that y'all need to be gentle with yourselves. I'm really thinking about saying that to people a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I've during the pandemic, I started ending like every interaction with "take care." Because I really that's what felt right then to say to people like "take care." But that doesn't feel as right now,
Yeah.
So, because I speak to grieving people all day long, I'm thinking about starting to add that in. I don't think I'm going to put it at the end of every conversation the way take care has become like goodbye for me.
Right.
But be gentle with yourself. I love that.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a whole lot easier to be kind to other people than it is to be kind to yourself.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so from there on, I was 100% in love with Arnie.
Yeah, I love that.
He was, and that's another part where Zora is explaining to Avery that he was like a father to her, but they only discovered it when she was 16. Mm-hmm. So again, that intensity of connection when you're a teenager, right. Those 2 years are huge. From 16 to 18 and getting out into the world. The power of the unspoken power of Arnie's personality and what he gave to the community. I like that. What you think on about.
There was a tiny thing when they were at Arnie's that I noticed, but it wasn't expanded because it really wasn't important. But Zora didn't eat the food. The plates came and she pushed it toward her daughter.
I think she did.
She didn't eat the banana pudding.
She didn't eat the banana pudding, which really made me want banana pudding.
I know.
My mom has this recipe for banana pudding that I requested for my birthday dessert instead of cake because it's so good.
Oh my god!
I'm so excited. Wow. I've been thinking about banana pudding for weeks now.
Yeah. Is it really hard to make?
Well, it's not Jell-O banana pudding. It's from scratch.
No. I figured she from scratch.
I don't know. I didn't make it.
Because Jell-O wouldn't be that special. Sorry, Jell-O, but
fresh. Jell-O banana pudding also delicious, but
homemade, this is fresh. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds so good.
Yeah. Sorry. I wanted to touch back a little bit when we were talking about Zora and her relationship with her mother and how she dealt with all that and stuff, and how you could tell from the letters and everything she wrote her during college, and I really wish you could come out. I want to show you around,
oh yes,
the little kid in her, and I don't think she was wrong at all in feeling the way that she felt. Because the way that Mama Letty raised her was horrible, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It's hard because you don't want to blame one person or whatever, but it wasn't. Not that it wasn't Mama Letty's fault, but I was a whole lot of stuff to deal with, right? And so having to raise a child on top of all that would have been extremely difficult. Yeah,
and work across the street from the guy that killed your husband.
Yeah,
every day seeing that,
Ooh. What was the most challenging or difficult part of the book for you to read or understand? How did you overcome it? I don't know why I picked that question.
There were parts of the book that were difficult. You could easily say the descriptions of racism and the mentions of the Ku Klux Klan and stuff like that. That's all horrible.
There was a word in there that I was like, that's so interesting. What does that mean? And it means having the protection of the clan. I think it's when
I can't remember that word, but
when in the flashback when they're talking about why the cops never got in trouble.
I also I found it easy to relate to Avery when she's young and like, why won't you tell me everything that I want to know? And you're sort of on her side until you learn all the things that she wasn't supposed to know, and you're like, damn, I probably wouldn't have told my daughter all that either.
Yep. And that's the thing is like, as a parent, you're trying so hard to control your child's experience and to not let the world mar them in the way that you've been marred, whatever that may have been.
Yeah, I think the parts that were hardest were Mama Letty relating her experience when it was like, when she was actually telling them, like, no, this is what happened, when she's telling Zora about what happened to her grandfather and all that. It's just horrible.
Yep. Yeah, that was hard to take. I guess I paused on that question because like this was all so digestible, even though it's so horrible.
You're right. I felt like it was a good balance between like touching on really difficult topics and getting enough into it that you felt really a lot for these people, but not in a way that felt like it was going, like I was never afraid that it was going to end badly.
Yeah.
Right? Like it felt like a safe way to experience all these emotions.
If there was one thing about the book you could have improved, what would it be? I have something that's a hot take. So
okay, go for it.
I want you guys to go first.
No, I'm still thinking. Did you hear my
I think the ending.
I was going to say that.
This wrap up.
Can we talk about the ending?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So, Mama Letty. Okay.
Like, where do you want to start the ending?
Right, we got to back up. So her husband was killed by the local police who had connections to the Klan, and she saw it happen. Well, she didn't see him get killed, but she saw him hauled away by the sheriffs.
Well, they beat the stuff out of him,
and he didn't come back. Right?
How old was Zora at this? Just to give context,
because she was pregnant with Zora.
So Zora never met her father,
right? And so that injustice happens to Mama Letty. Those people get to go about their lives like nothing bad happened. And then the son of the sheriff, who was responsible for Ray's murder, right? He becomes
the sheriff is responsible.
Right.
What's her face? Jade's father is not responsible.
Right. Yeah. Jade's father is the son of the man responsible, right?
Yes.
So.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The description of the dinner, and she's like, and I shook his hand.
Yeah. And so
that part, actually, I want to rewind just a little
bit.
Yeah. So, because there is like one difficulty for me, and I think it's just like this person thinks differently than I do. So I definitely have people-pleasing aspects to my personality. So as a teenager at someone else's house, probably no matter how extreme, because I wouldn't have been like looking at it globally. Neither was she, though.
Right.
To tell them all. And be like, I think you murdered my grandfather.
Yeah. Well, you definitely murdered his first wife. You cheating.
F you, F your family, F the horse you rode in on.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, she
Peace out
her stuff.
Yeah.
So,
but she tried to hold it in.
She did.
She tried
and
so
it's
hard.
not even so much that I have any kind of problem digesting that Avery got to that level of boil over. It's also the other part that was like, oh gosh, I don't know about that for me in high school. That Jade was not upset or embarrassed that she freaked out on her family at all.
I was afraid that Jade was going to be like,
stepmother.
Why did you do that? Now I'm going to suck when I get home. But she knows that, like,
to live with them.
Right. She's like, no, you're completely right. I was worried for Jade.
I was like on the edge, like Jade is going to go one of two ways. But Jade had already tried to warn her how awful her family was, so she was aware, and it wasn't her mother, it was her stepmother who's like,
but it was her grandmother talking, who
really
she knew how old. But there's sometimes you connect with your grandparents and sometimes you don't.
But that's what that's what this book's about.
Yeah. Oh shoot, what was I gonna say? Oh, so
you're unveiling the ending.
So the Jade's birth mother, is this wonderful woman who's married to this man, and they only ever talk about her in this, golden light, like she was a good person, she was an artist, she was, all these great things. She dies in mysterious circumstances,
Definitely murdered, but
Murdered.
but a unsolved murder.
And then he remarries, and everybody thinks that they had his first wife killed so that they could get married to him and his mistress, right? But does the ending lead me to believe that Letty shot
Yes.
Jade's mom?
Yes.
And I was thinking about this afternoon. One, here's my two theories. One, she knows exactly who it was and wanted to make whatever his name is, the dad, the man she's married to, suffer.
Yes.
Or she assumed it was this other woman, or she thought it was him. Like, did she intentionally target Jade's mom, or was it a misunderstanding?
So on her road out of town to heaven.
Wait. We're saying that she killed Jade's mom?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because it says she's at the Christmas party, and somebody shows up in the shadows
She
with
never
a gun.
saw the shining
And then in
silver
the
of
box,
gun.
she finds the invitation to the party where she died and the gun. And what does Mama Letty say? So you were going to get to that.
On the road to heaven.
I kept thinking somehow, because she was going to die anyway, that she went out somehow and left her house, even though she really can't get around, and killed the grandpa.
No, this is
And
way
then-
back in the day.
Okay.
So it all happened so fast, Karen. I can't fault you for trying to figure out.
Yeah, she wrapped that. She
Can I see
wrapped
the
the.
book?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot thrown at the very end.
Like, what are these chains connecting to?
That's the problem listening at 1.75 speed. I was like, wait, what happened?
I listened at 1.2. It was just as confusing.
So they open their pack. Mama Letty has left Zora and Avery these packages, and she has left Avery her journals and a letter explaining, here's my journals, read about, I've done some bad things, and I told you not everything's there for you to carry, but here it is if you want to read it. I've done some bad things.
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought that just meant because she was drunk a lot. You know,
me too.
I thought...
So then Avery is sitting on the floor looking at this, and she glances over and she sees the box that Mama Letty took out of her, her new bedroom when she arrived. She sees the box jammed into the mattress. She pulls it out. She sees all these newspaper clippings, the invitation to the Christmas party that Amelia was murdered at, and a gun. And then Zora walks in, sees she's got the box and the gun. Zora takes the box. Avery also realizes that is a box that she saw during their fight.
Right.
That New Year's that she keeps remembering. And so we also get confirmation that it was when she was 5. And the girls are 17, 18 years old. The twins are 12. The Jade's siblings are 12-ish, or one of them is 12.
Mm-hmm.
I forget about this.
So that's 5 years old, 12-year-old. Now, then your new brothers come along. So this all happened. We know that the murder was when Jade was 5, and that is also the winter that Avery visited.
Right.
And that they have this knockdown, drag out fight, which is what ends the visit, and that thus Avery never sees Grandma until.
And they say explicitly that Zora knew what her mom did.
Yes.
Wait. Jade's twin brothers. Got it.
The little brothers. Are they twins?
I think
they're
they're twins.
Not twins.
I don't think they are.
They're not twins.
But they're close in age or something.
They are close in age because the whole soda pop story is that she's like, when I was pregnant with this one, I wanted this. But when I was pregnant with the other one, I wanted soda. Anyway.
Don't even get me started on that scene. Anyway.
So vapid, right? I mean, everybody has pregnancy cravings. But
why won't you give me something free?
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
So the box is found. Zora takes it. There's a scene where Mama Letty is going home with Ray, and they're taking a spiritual, the spirits are traveling through Bardell, and she sees all of these sights as they go along, and one of them is where she's like, where I got my revenge. I didn't kill the ones that killed him, but I took something that would hurt more.
Letty informed Ray that I don't think this is, I went back and forth about that too. I don't think this is her on the way to heaven. I think this is her driving home from having shot what's her name.
Okay, I was also trying to figure that
it says,
out.
After it happened, Letty June Harding went home with the first of what would be 3 cancer diagnoses.
Okay, thank you.
And flyers for the Draper Hotel and Spa Christmas party riding shotgun. Letty informed Ray that although she didn't get the man who killed him, she thought she got someone better.
Okay,
so I think she shot the wrong person.
So you think she was out? So killing Amelia was not her goal when she went out that night. Killing one of the Draper men.
I think killing Tallulah.
The
because she was already in the picture at this point.
You think? Why do you think she wanted to kill Tallulah?
No, because that was later.
She got her fired, though.
But would that have been later?
That would
have been later. Okay,
yeah.
so then I don't know.
I like that connection because we all want to kill Tallulah.
No, because then she says, on her drive, she passed several monuments, but she was too high on adrenaline and horror to notice. There was the train station where her man made the choice to stay. The bus station bench where her teenage daughter looked at the stars and decided that she was done. So,
I guess that's where I got
where her same daughter would vow to take Letty's secret to her grave. So she came home, told Zora what she did. Zora said, okay, I promise I won't tell anybody, but I'm out. And then she ran away.
And I had forgotten that...
that doesn't match up. That doesn't match up. But I think the side note about the bus, her tour, the monuments of her life, I think that's just like she's driving through town and she sees this.
Yeah.
Because, but they were just the two of them. I don't know.
Yeah. I've forgotten
because she left at 18.
Yeah.
She looked at the stars and left at 18.
Right.
But this happened when Avery was 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
and I had forgotten
I don't like the ending.
I had forgotten that Tallulah had been in the picture, and that Jade's mom knew, but it was just something that he had a mistress.
Oh, a lot of women make
they just because it's security or not security.
Yeah, a lot of women know, and they live with it.
Yeah.
Until for some reason they cannot, or they live with it forever.
Yeah.
There's so much care taken in developing the characters. The ending, I like the title. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a monument. I mean, did I think the city council was ever going to approve a monument to her grandmother? Probably not, but it was a really nice gesture, and it was friends getting back together. But I did feel like it wasn't as tidy a wrap up. It's almost like I have all these strings and I'm going to take handfuls of them and tie them all together real fast.
I thought it was pretty beautifully written, but I do think it was confusing.
Yes.
Okay. But maybe it was supposed to be.
At the ending.
Yeah. Did the author style and voice suit the genre and tone of the book?
I think so.
Oh, yeah.
I think she's a very talented. I'm sorry. I think they are a very talented writer.
I think so too. I don't know what else they have written, but I would be interested to read others.
I'm so glad you asked. This was their debut novel.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Excellent job.
So, new novel called Thirsty is coming out on May 14th, 2024. And go to her website. Go to their website. Doing so good. Go to their website. Check it out. Read the synopsis and you can pre-order. It looks good to me as well. It's sort of like many authors write that first book and it's at a certain point in, young adult authors, and it's a certain point of life, and then the next one builds on that. I think this is more of an early 20s perspective. Were you surprised? This book has 2 genres in it. It's mystery and it is a romance. I think more heavily one over the other. So we just got to the meat and potatoes. The mystery is solved. Letty killed Amelia.
Right.
We also have secrets revealed, like Ray was a secret to Avery, and why he wasn't in the picture also revealed.
Right.
Were you surprised by who ended up being the person who committed the crime?
Yes. Well,
considering I didn't really catch that part, right now I'm very surprised.
your first vibe.
Yeah, I would say I was surprised.
I would say so too.
Because I was pretty on board with what everybody's problems were with each other and it making sense for the level of like we don't talk about it that we were at. But then learning that that was such a huge secret, I was like, oh, I guess that does make sense. Like, I was like, okay, yeah, she doesn't like the way she was raised, and she had a lot of grief, and she wasn't dealing with this, and she was drinking, and yeah, we're all mad at each other, so I ran away. But like, that's a whole lot of a bigger, meatball.
But it also speaks to why she was so difficult and so hard. One, it is hard to be a single mom unexpectedly, but also she's carrying the weight of this.
She did this when Zora was grown.
Yeah.
When Zora was grown.
This is only 12 years
Avery
back
was
in
5
history.
years old.
Yeah.
Because Jade's mom was murdered when she was
Yeah, see,
a kid.
there's a confusion.
Well, that's kind of where I'd like to have known more.
Yeah.
Of like, what was the inciting event, say 50 years, well, not 50, let's say 40 years later. Because I have this vibe that Zora's a kind of older mom. Why so many decades later would you do this now?
Yeah, that's a really great question.
That was never answered.
No.
I might have understood who the killer was if I'd known that.
Well, yeah. Right.
Well, then it makes me think, like, if she was aiming... No, because that doesn't make sense. I don't know. Never mind.
Yeah, what possessed her? Because that's kind of a rage choice, right? I'm going to shoot the first person who comes out the door.
No, maybe it makes perfect sense because his father, them, the collective, those men,
Yes.
killed the person that she loved.
Yes.
So she killed the person that he loved.
Yes.
So maybe she was aiming for... I can't remember Jade's mom's name.
The reflection on the way home, I didn't get the one who killed you, but I got someone who hurts more.
Yeah.
That makes it feel like it was like, oh, I shot the one who came out the door. To me.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Jazz, you gotta come on our podcast and tell
us. How did the author introduce the main mystery or crime in the book? Did it grab your attention and make you curious right from the beginning? So I think there's a mystery and there's a crime, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's, I mean, both are crimes, but the mystery of who killed Amelia and the crime of the people who killed Ray, which that is where I was easily able to be led through who, like, obviously we knew who did it as soon as, mention of one of the Drapers having been a former sheriff. Oh, at the Halloween party. He's like, oh, I put on my dad's old uniform.
Yeah, gross.
Yeah. Then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, all right. You're the
yeah,
guy
that
from
was
the
pretty
flashback.
clear.
Yeah.
The mystery of it all is you're just sort of like, it's just thrown at you when she arrives because they're like, oh yeah, my dad killed my mom and now I have a stepmom.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, cool. And I was waiting for that to like come back around to be like, but what happened? Like, did he actually do it?
Yeah.
And then it sort of went by the wayside during everything else. Then when we were getting closer to the end, I was like, but wait, and we're going to figure out what happened with that?
Yeah.
Because I was focused on the crime and not the mystery.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, so that's the thing. I think that actually complements all the things that everybody just gets, all the discomfort everybody gets used to just living with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, we don't know who killed Amelia. Probably Lucas did it. But
That was why I was so confused. Maybe not confused, but like it seemed like perfectly logical that what's his name did it because he's got his fingers in the pies of everybody in the town.
Yeah.
So he could easily, like, it could be easily unsolved,
everyone.
right?
Yes.
But if it wasn't his doing, he used it as a really tidy opportunity.
Yeah.
So maybe he also didn't want it solved for that reason.
Right.
That he was like, I don't care who killed her.
No, it's done.
I got a new girl.
Yeah.
So
he's probably cheating on Tallulah.
So with that
I'm sure.
perspective in mind,
Cheater sheet.
I'm glad that she didn't go with the obvious answer.
That's interesting. I agree, but I wish there were more.
I wish there was.
to it.
I wish that she could have drawn me in a little bit more towards this twist. I didn't get pulled into the twist. I didn't even realize there was a twist because I needed a little bit more story, I think, to pull me. At some point along the line, I feel like there needed to be just a little bit more groundwork.
Do you feel like there was any hypocrisy? Because Avery has this all put together before the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jade approaches them and is like, let's be friends again. Sort of.
Yeah.
The gist of it. And they make plans to have their reconciliation right after the night of the funeral.
Mm-hmm.
is there no hypocrisy for Avery? But now she's holding the fact that her grandmother killed Jade's mother.
Yeah.
And here's...
She hadn't had a chance to process that information.
She put it together as soon as she opened the box, saw the clippings, saw the invitation, and the...
But that was happening while she was getting ready for the funeral.
Yeah.
I think it was too fast for her to process.
Unless she truly believes that Grandma Letty didn't intend
to kill.
Didn't choose her as the target.
We have no idea. Like,
because you're right.
We have omniscience.
Then that's a pretty big cloud to be hanging over your friendship.
Yeah.
But Grandma Letty's dead at that point.
Yes.
So it's not like it's
not
not like Avery knew forever and didn't tell her.
True. We
Unless
don't know.
she doesn't.
We don't know.
Yeah.
That's the...
You're right.
Boop, done. We
Yeah.
don't know.
We need an epilogue.
Was there perhaps a realization in their reconciliation where Avery says, Jade, I know who killed your... No, because it's meant to be a family circuit that goes to the grave. Like, a family
also, you can't wrap up the book there with her dropping this bomb on Jade, you know. This...
True.
But then again, isn't there a little guilt you might feel if you find out that Jade is now... You know that your grandma killed Jade's mom, but yet Jade doesn't know, and she is trying to get the council to make a monument for your grandma.
Well, actually, so we can kind of tell then, thank you for that one, Karin. We can tell that Avery never tells Jade because Jade makes the proposal.
Actually goes through with the proposal.
Yeah. Do you think?
Yeah. And Zora
I mean, Jade's very cool, but I don't think she's that cool.
Zora held that secret for 12 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She says she's not telling.
Like, I feel like I would be pretty mad if I were Avery and my mom had known that this whole time and...
Let me be friends with her.
Right. And it's not Jade's fault at all.
No.
Right? But it's like, well, as soon as I started becoming friends with this person, I feel like you probably should have told me. I don't know.
Yeah, but Zora's so good at keeping everything compartmentalized and separate.
Is that what makes her such a great doctor?
She's
because
a
she
doctorate.
A doctorate. She's
Yeah.
not
like
a,
not
a,
she's
not
a
an
doctorate.
MD, not
She's
an
a professor,
MD.
I think, right?
Oh, a professor.
She is a rocket scientist,
Yeah.
essentially. I mean, I don't know.
Oh,
I think she's a tenured professor in
she's an astronomer.
astrophysicist or something.
Oh, that's right. Because okay.
But she is Dr. Zora
Yes.
Harding.
I did feel bad for that Simone. I mean, Simone's so afraid of losing her mom's love by being her true self, not knowing that, but maybe because her mom never dealt with her own feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that part bugged me. Not the way it was written, but just the whole situation made me kind of upset it.
But
I
you
think
can
that's
see
one of the most real parts of the book.
Yeah,
it is
you
a
can
it
see
is a
how
very
very
real part.
different those two girls, Zora and Carol. Carol stayed where she was.
Yes.
Zora left.
Yes.
And so Carol growing up and living in the place that she does influences the way that she reacts when her daughter...
Yeah.
You know,
Also,
Because where she lives is not a safe place to be out.
Right.
Well, she also had been reprogrammed.
Exactly.
In her
Yeah.
healing from her son's death, she got churched, and so because that's what one of the things
That's right.
Carol says. I wanted someone to respond in a particular way to that line, and I wonder if the author ever considered it. Which is, Carol says, "Simone is a child of God. She cannot be like your daughter."
And like Simone's like, no, I'm not.
No, but that's not the right. I mean, okay, it depends on what you believe. I'm sorry to say it's not the right whatever, but I wanted the response to be like, well, we're all children of God.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but that is a philosophical
Yeah,
difference,
wouldn't
I suppose,
you think
but-
that everybody is?
Yeah.
But, we're not going to get into that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I just really wanted that to be the response.
No, you're right, because Carol, found God,
Yes.
became a child of God,
Yes.
and is now under the impression or hope that you can pray the gay away,
Yes.
and is trying really hard to do that with her
Yes.
daughter, right? She
Yes.
has to go to church 3 times a week
Yes.
to, like, get over it. And
But weren't you just a bit curious that Carol and
Zora.
Zora, what were they doing at the hotel? Being all chummy. and then they act like they're not chummy.
Well, Carol can't process this. I think it's another, because this is something I appreciate because
But
it's not
it
my point of
hints
view.
that they were reconnecting.
I don't think they're currently. I don't believe that their reunion at the hotel was anything other than just them coming
Friends.
together and being friends again.
Right,
Okay.
because Zora is supposedly faithful to her husband.
Yes.
But when you have this...
I wondered if there was just like an understanding, if he knew his wife was bi and had an understanding or something, because he seems like one of
doesn't
the.
mean you're not monogamous.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
You might be interested in
Yeah,
both
no, you're
sexes,
still committed.
but you may choose to be in a monogamous relationship. You may not. Polyamory. Yay.
Well, I did. It wasn't.
many people
It
to
wasn't.
please.
It wasn't clear that maybe they practiced monogamy, but
It
that
left your mind wondering.
it
what
left
their
your mind
relationship
wondering
was
if
like.
maybe, yeah.
Like how
Mostly because I saw it from Avery, because I was viewing it through Avery's lens. When she saw her mom, and her first instinct was like, "What is happening?"
It would
I
be
think
an
it was that
unusual
her-
intimacy to see between your mom and her friend.
And a mom and her friend who are like icy toward each other.
Yeah.
So that's why she reacts the way she does. Is like, I thought you were mad at Carol, or I thought Carol was mad at you.
and her mom's not a chummy, and she's not experienced a view of her mom being chummy with anybody.
Exactly. Yeah, her mom seems to be very like outwardly analytical and very closed. Like her inner thoughts are closed. Now I want pizza because I'm thinking about what was going on during that scene. She's supposed to go downstairs and get the pizza.
Get some pizza.
I was afraid for them to eat pizza after the evening they'd had, though, too. So I'm glad everybody was asleep. And
Is there something bad
they were
about late
drinking
night
heavily
pizza?
that night. The girls were drinking a lot.
Yeah, but how does pizza factor in with that? Are you
The
likely to lose
pizza
your
could
pizza?
show up again.
Oh, yeah, got it. It may not stay down.
Right. So now the romance part of the
Okay.
genre.
We haven't solved the mystery, but
Well, I mean, I think we talked it
No, you're
through.
good.
We're never going to solve it.
No.
Because it's missing pieces.
no. But let's talk about romance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on. Let me see if there's because I
Okay.
feel like we sort of discussed all this stuff already.
Yeah.
I'm just going to read this question because I wanted to talk about what we have organically already talked about. But this question's funny now that we've talked about it. How did the book end? Were you satisfied with the solution or reveal of the mystery or crime? Did it make sense and tie up all the loose ends? Well, all the loose ends were tied up.
Yes.
We got to give props on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they were. They were.
I'm on board with what I believe to be the ending, like how
Yes.
I'm reading it.
Yes.
And I think that that's fine.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree
It's
with
still
that, too.
mysterious, but I can believe that Letty chose what's her name on purpose,
Amelia,
because he loved her and
Yeah.
to take her away. That's
Well,
how I'm
the
choosing
pain
to read
of
it.
living with the way she's lived, to enact
Right.
that on someone else.
But you're right. Why did she choose that to do it? Oh, because she was dying of cancer.
because it's her first diagnosis of cancer. She doesn't know she's going to
She's
live
like, you
through
know what? Screw
3
this.
diagnoses. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Just had to talk.
We
it
figured
through.
it out. We weren't done with
Just
the
had to
mystery.
talk it through. You were right.
Jazz, we're sorry. It
Yes.
actually does make sense when you think about it.
I still would have liked a little more lead in, but I also understand page count's a thing,
100%.
That's true.
and I wouldn't have asked you to cut anything.
No.
else from the book.
And I do feel that sometimes the fault may lay with me because sometimes I need more hand holding.
True. True.
So
I agree.
my
Like,
critique is
I
not
love-
necessarily with the way it wrapped up, because I know that sometimes it's my understanding of a book.
Right. There was definitely motive.
Yeah.
Right. Opportunity.
Yep.
And what are the other things?
Oh, you never shot somebody.
Well, the things that build up when they're trying to prosecute a crime.
Yeah.
Usually it's just the two things. You had motive, opportunity, and opportunity.
Yeah. And means? Maybe
Passion.
that's it? Yeah. So she had
Yeah.
the gun.
Yeah.
What romance? Was the romance believable to you? Why or why not? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You saw it coming from a mile away.
Oh, yes.
And you were happy
Oh,
for those
yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. How did you feel about the main couple's chemistry and compatibility? Did you root for them or not? Loved it.
Yeah.
Rooted for them.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah. I also love the authenticity in detail. When they first meet and Simone has a read on her very clear. And they're going out and bringing all the bags in, and their arms brush, and Simone recoils from her.
And you're like, oh.
Yeah. Like, well, what is this? But then she's so warm and wants to build this friendship.
Right.
And I like that detail when you realize that it's just Simone recoiling from herself.
Yeah.
And her own truths.
I was looking at reviews of this book, which are mostly positive.
Yeah, it has pretty high reviews, but I've started to do that a little bit, following your example.
I like to look at like middle of the road, but I saw one today that said like, one of the things I didn't like was that the romance between the two girls was a little bit unbelievable because the only thing that they really talked about was like their physical expression of love, and there wasn't a lot of connectiveness between the two of them.
Review,
and I thought, have you
They're
ever been in love as a
17.
teenager?
Yes.
The only thing that matters is that guy's or girl or whoever is cute. You could be in a relationship with someone for a long time based on the fact that they're cute.
Yes.
You don't have to have anything in common when you're a teenager.
And the fact that you get
Kissing
all
feels good. That's the other part.
that you get all tingly
Yes.
and bubbly inside just from looking at them.
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, let's put this in the context of the age of
Yes.
Yeah.
For 17-year-olds, I actually thought they had a pretty like deep connection.
Oh, yeah. I think so, too.
They've learned a lot about each other and about the things that are important to each other.
They talk about big things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Friendship,
agree with
friendship
that.
first in relationships. What do you think of the main conflict or obstacle that kept the couple apart? Was it realistic or contrived? Well, I think their main obstacle is the community they live in and understanding. One person being out, one person not, which would be I think that's an interesting dynamic because it has to happen a lot in the LGBTQ community because everyone's at a different place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
I had an observation. One thing that I found a little unbelievable is that you have this trio of friends and Jade knows Simone so well. You really think that Jade didn't pick up that the two friends are all of a sudden super chummy and giggly? I mean, because you know, it's like that classic two people in an office pretending that they don't like each other, but everybody in the office knows.
Yeah, no,
they think they're being good at hiding it.
Yeah,
That
Jade would have
bothered me
known.
too.
But there's no way. I mean, because Jade seemed pretty perceptive about things.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is
quietly
surprising.
watching, observing.
So the only thing I could think of is that this was happening so quick, but she still should have.
Unless she didn't want to see it because she was afraid
true.
of
There was
her.
that.
Like, they had a rule about they weren't going to date anybody because they wanted to focus on their friendship with each other, right?
Yeah.
And it's distracting from other things happening in life.
Yes.
So I think, I would like to think that Jade would know that her friend was gay.
Yeah.
Because they've been best friends forever.
Yes.
Like, that seems reasonable that she would understand that. It's like when a lot of children come out, their parents are like, yeah, of course I know that.
Yep.
Like, they're so close to each other. I would think that Jade would know that. But she probably didn't want to.
But 17-year-olds can be very self-centered too, even
That's
if they're
true.
very
Yeah.
perceptive.
That's true.
When I was in high school, my best friend came out to me. I didn't actually see that coming, and I did not handle it well. And to this day, I regret that my reaction killed our friendship. And I've tried to look her up, but she's changed. Her name has changed, and she might have transitioned, and but I didn't see that coming. I knew I knew her home life was really horrible, but we snuck out to Rocky Horror Picture Show at midnight. We went to midnight movies. We did a lot together. I did not see that because we were just chummy friends.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, how deeply closeted is Simone, and how deeply closeted was your friend? Thinking of the
And also
time around you, probably
right, the
80s.
culture and the
In the
time.
80s.
Yeah.
probably very deeply closeted.
Yeah.
So for her to come out like the year after high school or even at the end of our senior year, was probably pretty remarkable. And I know that my reaction hurt her. And I wish I had been a different person. I know I could only be the person I was for what I was going through.
Yep.
But I do regret that I was not a good friend for her.
Be gentle with yourself.
I know. I
And-
would, and I know that if I were to meet her and apologize, it wouldn't be. I want to make sure that it wouldn't be for her because she hasn't cared all these years, or I don't know. We haven't had contact, but
Well, one time I was told that I'm sorry is for you.
Yeah.
And that please forgive me is for the person you're seeking forgiveness from. And you know what? It's okay if you need to say I'm sorry for you too. And so
yeah, I was wrong.
I wish, I'm sure I saved it because it was so good, but I came across someone's reel and it was like, when you're visiting something where you weren't your best person, like, tell yourself, like, give yourself that forgiveness that you were trying your best at the time.
Yeah.
We had friends who were gay. I couldn't accept her being gay. And I don't know. So it's if we had never had any friends who were gay, it'd be different.
Well, maybe,
But I know, but
that moment where you look back and you wish you could have had your now self
Yeah,
to
yeah.
interact with her, like, you could maybe, instead of looking for the solace of saying I'm sorry to her, maybe say thank you for the growth it gave you, because if you didn't have that experience in your life, the things that you've experienced going forward, you wouldn't have had the tools to find a different way to think about them. I don't know. Unfortunately, you are not able to find her and you cannot talk to her.
No.
I'm sorry.
But sometimes also the thing that you carry and regret for so long, the other person has completely moved on
Right.
from. And
Yeah,
there's no way
right.
to know whether or
Yeah,
not that is the
right.
case, but you
Right.
might be carrying a grief that this person does not care about anymore.
Right.
We've just been best friends. But you're right. It's been a lot of years since high school. So not saying how many.
I will also no longer say how many.
Which tells you it's been a long time for me.
We've gotten to a certain year. I mean, actually, I don't really care, but it's a long time back now. Remember, like, wasn't it just 1990, 10 years ago?
No, because I was 2 years old.
I was also a small child, but not that small.
I was married that year. Wow. I know.
The main conflict for them is
come back.
the truth of their sexuality.
Yeah.
And that is very realistic.
All the people around them, accepting it or not.
How did the setting and time period of the novel affect the romance? Did it add to the atmosphere and create challenges for the characters?
Oh, I think so.
Rural Georgia in 2020s. I love that this book is of its time.
It's very, very
It
much
makes
set in a time
cultural
period.
references of the current time. It ties itself to the year it was published.
Yeah.
Loud and proud.
I feel like it's pretty perfect to describe the different experiences that these two girls had, is that it's 2021, I think, during this book.
Right.
And so Avery is able to come out living in DC and it's not a problem.
Yep.
Like, everybody's like, yeah, duh. Like, that's fine.
Yeah.
But Simone is stuck in rural Georgia, also in the same exact year. And even though many people in her community are accepting, it's a lot more of an unsafe place for her to be.
Yes.
And it's the exact same year, right? It's just two completely different places.
Because it's not a matter of people like me. It's a matter of I could physically be unsafe.
Yes.
Yeah.
How did the author balance the romance with elements such as humor, suspense, drama, and social commentary?
I mean, it was a very teenagery romance, so
Yes.
we don't get that like deep into like a lot of that, but at the same time there's bigger fish to fry in this book.
Yeah.
So one of the reviews I read, and maybe it was even the same one.
Maybe.
I started at the bottom and read the 1-star review.
I was on Goodreads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was only one. I mean, there are many reviews where people just give stars, and then there's the ones where they actually write a review. And there was like a pretty good analytical 2-star review where they actually said a lot of good things about the book. But their criticisms were pretty well founded too. A lot on the ending and how things wrapped up.
Sure.
I lost my train of thought.
That's okay.
Yep.
Well,
Anyway, so there was a point to that about the humor, suspense, drama, and social commentary.
a lot of that does happen. I think just
that the romance was second violin
Yeah.
to all those bigger fish.
Right.
That's
Those are not, it's not like the novel didn't touch on those things.
Yes.
It absolutely did, but
Yes.
not in regards to the romance,
Yes.
I don't think.
Yeah. So I guess that point of that review was that it was almost, the romance element was almost incongruous to the other
There's a lot in this book.
driving forces in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. It is packed with jam. How did the secondary characters contribute to the story and the romance? Did you have a favorite or least favorite side character? I would say like Carol, obviously, and her impending reaction add to the tension and like doom that Simone is worried about.
Right.
I think the other parents, Zora and her husband, gives a very good levels of contrast between
Right.
the privilege of place that someone in a big city, metropolitan area where there's too many people to care.
Right.
Because I'm sure there's people in DC who have opinions, but there's so many, no one's noticing each other. Versus someone who's in this teeny tiny little frog pond of
Yeah. Everybody
focus
knows everybody.
community.
She's already standing out because of the lip ring.
Well, that's Avery. Yeah.
Avery, yeah.
I mean, my least favorite side character is, we have a unanimous vote for Tallulah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
She's the
But
worst.
she was written to be hated.
Yeah.
Favorite side character, Archie from
Artie?
the Renaissance.
Archie?
Artie.
Artie. Yeah.
Artie from
Love
the
Artie.
Renaissance.
Love Artie.
Okay. All right.
I was also a pretty big fan of Dad, even though he's pretty minor in the book.
Yeah.
Because he's such a dad.
Yeah.
And I
so
thought that was
chill.
cute.
We're going to go to ice
Your
cream.
hippie father.
Yeah.
We're going to go to ice cream. I love
I liked her
you.
hippie
Don't tell
father.
your mom.
Unsavory Avery.
Yeah.
Like,
It's very
I
dad.
love that. Yeah. His nickname's adorable.
how did you like the level of heat in the novel? Perfect.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This is a young adult
It's a
novel.
nice
We
slow
don't need
simmer.
any more than
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with the people who are chanting for young adult low spice.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of things I think being classified as young adult
Yeah.
that are not
Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah. And just so many
Yeah.
in that
Wait.
same super spicy.
Sarah J. Maas is considered young adult.
I
I
believe
think they get
so.
lumped in with that a lot.
Yeah. She should probably just be pure fantasy romance.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's way
But-
too much. I would not want my teenager
I think
going
people
into
look at
depth
those
and-
books and think like, oh yeah, my kid's gonna read this.
I suppose.
until you get to one particular.
No, I understand.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Well, actually, a couple.
we call it the dragon smut, Iron Wing,
smut.
which
Mhm.
it was fun, but then it wasn't good, and then it was good,
I
and then
never
it
read
was
that one.
Then it was too spicy.
Too spicy.
Well, the premise is like a dragon school
Right.
with a world at war, and they're trying to figure out the roots of their magic, and it's all like a very interesting world. And then all of a sudden, it is dragon smut.
Yeah.
And we're Kevin and I are listening. We're like, this book would be great for our 12-year-old.
Nope.
No.
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 Yeah. So this was the perfect amount of appropriate
Yeah.
spice.
Yes, absolutely. I would watch this movie with everyone in the living
Yeah.
room. I'd invite everyone to the living room.
Everybody
to
can watch
this
it.
movie. And I was going to include the question of who would we cast in this movie as book as movie, but I don't know.
I'm terrible at
I
that.
don't know any of the young people.
I'm terrible at it. The only one I can think of is Zendaya, but she's in everything.
Yeah, and she's in her mid-20s.
Yeah, no, I know.
So-
She's definitely not
so late
17.
So
20s,
if she was a little bit older, I would cast her as one of the moms.
She's not
Yeah,
that
but she's
much
not
older.
that
No, I'm
old.
saying if she was older.
Right.
Yeah, I'm bad at that game.
Yes. Yeah. So I saved us that question.
I want Patrick Wilson to be the dad just because I like Patrick
That's
Wilson.
perfect. He'd be perfect.
Yeah, he'd be
though.
great, 'cause he's
He'd be
funny.
Perfect. Yes.
I like him.
I'm behind that casting.
That's all I got. The first thing that came to mind was Patrick Wilson.
Oh, that's perfect. What have you guys read this month?
Guys, I actually have 2 books that I finished this month.
Woohoo!
Almost 3, but I didn't finish it in time. Hold on. I read Legends and Lattes.
Nice.
Very cute.
Me too.
I have read half of the second one, which I didn't realize was the second one because I read it first. And then my friend was like, here, borrow this book. And I figured I'd give it back to him eventually, so I should read it. So I read Legends and Lattes. Loved it.
Yes.
Cute.
Yes.
What do they say? High fantasy, low stakes.
Yes.
Like it was very
wonderful.
Adorable.
It was.
I read it when
delightful.
it was like raining a lot. It was a very cute, cozy book.
Perfect.
And then I also read. I'm trying to read a nonfiction book a month. I don't know if I'm going to get to that, but my nonfiction book of last.
Trying is good enough. Don't tell Yoda.
Yes, thank you. I read Raw Dog. The Naked Truth About Hot Dogs by Jamie Loftus.
I've seen that advertised.
Yeah.
What did you think of
I
it?
love Jamie Loftus. I think she's incredible and hilarious. And it's like
of who she is.
she's one of the two hosts of the Bechtelcast podcast.
Oh, okay.
And she's an LA comedian writer. I've met her a few times, like going to shows and stuff, and she's
Nice.
great. But this is you're like a book about hot dogs. Wow, exciting. But it was I just have to read like the thing because it describes it better than I can. Part travelogue, part culinary history, all capitalist critique. Comedian Jamie Loftus's debut, Raw Dog, will take you on a cross-country road trip in the summer of 2021 and reveal what the creation, culture, and class influence of hot dogs says about America now. And it was fascinating, and it was hilarious, and it was crass.
Well,
And, wow, I was thinking about like the perfect word to describe it. It's, I don't know if I would recommend it to everybody, but if you have a pretty open mind about sense of humor and, I was incredibly enjoyable. Yeah, it's pretty raunchy. It's great.
I appreciate that characterization of this book because there are a lot of books where it's like I loved it.
Yeah.
But if I tell people to read it and then they go read it and they'll be like,
They're going to be
"You
embarrassed.
read that?"
I'm like, I don't want you to think
Don't
that
judge
I
me.
read. Like I wouldn't
Enjoy this, but
recommend.
don't judge me.
I wouldn't recommend this book to. Like my cousin recommended it to me, and she was like, "You would love it," and I was like, "Okay, great," and I did love it. I wouldn't recommend it to like my mom, but I would recommend it in general. It was. I really liked it.
You want to know one of my theories about why Jamie Loftus might be so cool?
Why?
Her birthday's August 18th.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there's a lot of cool people.
All
born
the
that
cool
day.
kids. All the cool kids.
That's what I read.
It's not just me. Like Christian Slater, Patrick Swayze. I'm only going to come up
Those
with
are pretty cool
attractive
people.
men. Edward Norton, who's kind of an a-hole, but I still like him.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good list. There are other cool women. So now I can add Jamie Loftus to the list. What have you finished, Karin?
So, I finished She Who Became the Sun by, I loved it, by Shelley Parker Chan. I want more of it.
I'm trying to get up the energy to, is it He Who Ate the World or something like that?
Oh, is there another one like it?
Well, she has another book.
Oh, yeah.
That is in like that.
That genre, that world?
Yeah, telling, deep Chinese history.
Cool.
What's her name again? Sarah?
Shelley Parker Chan. She Who Became the Sun. I love so much about it. Really enjoyed that. I'm reading.
Oh, I've done it again.
What'd you do?
Shelley's pronouns are there.
Oh,
They and them.
then I also did it wrong.
He Who Drowned the World.
Oh, okay.
And that just came out just last year. But I think it's another epic. So I'm building my stamina to get to it.
I listened to Impact Winter because that was like one of the freebies on an Audible original by Travis Beacham, and it's a really interesting take. Of course, there's this thing that happens to the world where they get less sun, and it's like a really long winter. Vampires because there's less sunlight, the vampires no longer have to hide in the shadows. They can come out in daytime, but there's a hierarchy between them. I mean, it reminded me of the other book we read a little bit, but there's also like the zombie apocalypse with vampires kind of feel to it, where there's forts and castles, but it's in modern times after civilization. So, I'd love me a good post-apocalyptic.
Help me remember what book you're relating it to.
It was Octavia Butler.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So as far as the connection of there's royalty, there's hierarchy. Fledgling.
Yes.
Yeah. So it had elements of that, but not the same flavor.
Okay.
because there are humans in this world, and there are, in this world, humans are the survivors trying to hold off in the different forts, and trying to, they have people that are trained as warriors that go out, and there's memories of what the world was like when there was more sun within. So it's not that far in history.
There's a sequel.
I finished a book. I went to Timbre Books and I did a blind date with a book. And the interests are thriller in this particular one. Interests are thrillers and social media. Traits are humorous and edgy. I like that they give you a little bit, so it's not a complete blind date. It says, what if Gatsby worked at a tech startup? A heist gone wrong, which maybe, about race discrimination and income insecurity. So the book I read was New Waves. I was about to drop the book, by Kevin Nguyen. So you get a little bit of Vietnamese culture also in there. It's interesting because he's like, I work at a tech place, but I am not an engineer. And everyone assumes because I'm Asian that I'm an engineer, and I'm not. And it's awkward and it makes me feel uncomfortable. So after a while, I stopped explaining and I just nod and let them think what they think. And then this little booklet by my friend Tian Knofton, she came out, and it's only like the acknowledgments are on page 84. So it's a really thin little book called The Magic Knitting Pattern Book. Ooh. And it will. I had me in tears a little bit and a little choked up because in the very beginning I'm like, they have this great community and I miss my community. I mean, we have a community, but I miss the yarn store experience. And she's written it's this person and her sister. They're new to the area. They're new knitters. But one is more artistic. The other one, they're twins, and one is more, the brainiac kind of person. But they both like crafting and everything. And when they're at the yarn store, I guess they're new to the area, and she finds this really antique looking book that has the covers worn, but inside are all these like handwritten patterns and handwritten stories, and like knit this for protection. And
it's a spell book.
It's kind of a spell book.
All right.
And there's no one really at first, and there's no author name or anything. So they're trying to figure out who did this and how they're making connections, and little things like knit this scarf for protection. She's in the middle of knitting it, and she almost gets sideswiped in a bad accent, but at the last minute, things turn out okay. So there's a few weird little things that are happening. Anyway,
is she knitting while she's driving?
She was not. I haven't been able.
You don't know anything about that, do you?
Nope. Only at red lights.
She might have been stopped at the light, but then she wasn't actually driving then.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I would like to put it out there that none of us knit while operating a motor vehicle.
No, we do not.
No, that would be illegal.
Yes. And we don't do anything illegal.
No.
The Magic Knitting Pattern Book it's really, really, really good. And I think the elements that are there's archives about Bessie, the person, and her story gets unveiled as they go along because she's said to possess psychic powers and stuff. And but her life's a mystery. So it's kind of like a mystery and a little bit of a heist also.
Nice.
Art heist.
I love a heist.
Heist. So I highly recommend everyone should read it.
Props on reading 2 physical books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did get New Waves.
You have a book trophy.
But it's now a shelf trophy.
Yeah.
But I am actually reading this is not this is not an Audible. It would be very short, but this would be a great Audible.
I read half of my shelf trophy for our book club book.
Yeah. I think it's fine if you like to go to the bookstore to support your local bookstore purely to buy your shelf trophy.
Yep. Well, I have a plan. There's a Justin Torres book called Blackout. I think that's what it's called. Mm-hmm. But it has a ton of, like, the way the text is structured tells part of the story. So I'm still going to listen to it as an audiobook. And when I was telling the person at Timbre, that was like, it's time management, you know?
Yeah. If you want me to read at all, you gotta let me listen sometimes.
I want to be able to look at the books. Yes.
There are some things that are sometimes in the back of the book that you're not going to get in an Audible. Sometimes there's not just a glossary. There might be maps. There might be further explanations and little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
In a physical book, and there you can't flip through your Audible to try to find that reference. Even if you bookmark it, it's not the same as being able to stick a post-it on a page and go back to it. So I do like doing both, experiencing both the physical written word along with the Audible recording.
Nice.
What'd you read?
I think I found my groove finally for getting some momentum in my reading this year. Like a year ago, because I sort of want to try to read the books my kids are reading in school, or either reread or read them for the first time. So Dante was assigned 1984, and I don't think any kids actually read that book.
I didn't read it when I was supposed to.
I love that
Right.
book.
No, I don't think anybody
I read it on my own.
I told Arlene that, and she laughed out loud.
Yeah.
because she
I
used
read
to be
it on
an
my
English
own in
teacher.
high school. I love that book. I
liked A Brave New World. I read that on my own.
I don't think
I
I
did that one
read any
too.
of the books I was supposed
I
to.
never finished any of them.
Lord of the
I
Flies,
sort of started
all of
them.
that.
I started.
I read half of a lot of them.
Yeah, I started 1984. I remember because it was on a weekend trip with my youth group, and I was trying so hard to read it. I could not get through the first chapter.
Didn't read that one.
Talking about the ulcer on his leg and the terribleness of the cold apartment, and I'm like, this sucks.
I don't want to read those
Yeah.
books.
So, it's still not my favorite Orwell. I love Animal Farm, but it's worth reading. I think people should read it. The end is kind of a slog because there's like torture, and it's ugly, and it's awful, and it's psychological torture and physical torture, and that was a slog. The reason I read it, other than, I'm going to virtuously read the books my kids are reading, to try to connect with them. That's where the virtue is. Because there's a new book out called Julia, 1984. And it's from the perspective of the love interest, the ingenue in 1984, which in Orwell's telling, she's a very much set dressing, a tool to illustrate the oppressive regime.
That's interesting.
This book is twice as long, and it is way better.
Yeah.
Oh, it's way better. I do not think it could exist without its forebearer,
Right.
but it is a much more well illustrated idea of what this world looks like. It touches on the themes of like who is your oppressor, kind of, and how are you going to handle that better by reflecting what was already written. It's very good.
Would you say you have to read 1984 first?
I think so.
Like refresh your memory, or read it again for the first time?
Like, instead of the Spark Notes that you used to pass your...
Yeah, 100%.
Spark Notes came later. What is the other
Cliff
thing?
Notes.
Cliff Notes.
Yeah. Instead of that, read this.
I didn't do Cliff Notes because I was like, I'll get the grade I get.
Teachers also know
That does,
yeah.
and that doesn't mean that I wasn't cramming and pulling all-nighters.
I was just really good at bullshitting.
Yeah, that's mostly what I relied on too.
Yeah, I was really good at writing essays, and I was
Yes.
good at bullshitting.
Yes.
If you skimmed and you got the key points, even just from the chapter titles, you could write a great bullshit essay.
I
just get your Cliff Notes.
definitely did not do that even with 1984 because I didn't know about the 2 minutes of hate. I did not know that most of it is talking about their sexual relationship. Did not know that. And that is what tells me that most students are not reading this because you'd be talking about like this salacious book.
Yeah.
Right? It's not like it's spicy, steamy sex,
See,
but
if
anything
the
when you're
teachers would
15
just
is.
say, you might find sex in there, they might get
kids
more
might
readers.
read it.
You
Yeah.
probably can't say that.
Well, yeah, you
I
might
bet
get
you
in
can
trouble.
hint.
Probably.
Yeah.
You can hint that there's a very physical
But that's probably how the
relationship.
English teachers know that you didn't read it.
Right. If you didn't write about any of the sexy stuff.
Then I read When the Heavens Went on Sale by Ashley Vance.
Oh.
This was one of my nonfiction books. So good. I listened to it on 2x speed because it is like 18 hours or something.
Yeah.
What was the
And
title?
When the Heavens Went on Sale. I picked it up at the library, physical, real book, and started reading it, but I just time was not allowing me to finish it before all my renewals were used up. So I came back to it with the audiobook, and it's the story of like the Rocketeers of our time. So it starts with a telling of SpaceX and trying to get Falcon 1 off the ground. But this person, Ashley Vance, wrote Elon Musk's biography that's out. And it's so good that I am almost willing to read the Elon Musk biography. And there's a hilarious story in the book about one of the people he's talking about reading the biography and the cat pees on it.
I like that cat.
Right? And when it fits, I'm not really spoiling it because when it comes up, there's more to the story and it's even more satisfying. But it's so fascinating. All this rocket race that's going on right under our noses.
Yeah.
Like today, they tried to launch Starship. Kablooey! So this book is great. Then I read Us by Terrence Real. And I almost didn't read this book. I'd been waiting for a long, long time for it from the library because Goop has a publishing arm. Did you guys know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Has a publishing arm.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
What is Goop?
That is, what is her name? All I can think is what's in the
No.
box.
No.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Oh, that's a real
her
thing?
Yeah, that's her
Gwyneth
brand.
Paltrow's brand.
Oh,
And
okay.
there's a publishing arm, and this book was published by Goop.
Oh, that's cool.
No.
It's not.
It's
I mean,
not.
you can think it's cool.
Remember how
I'm
we were talking about
sorry.
snake oil earlier?
Oh,
Goop is
her.
snake oil.
It's very snake oil.
Well, I like that it got published.
Right. He has many other books.
Even if you
He's
don't,
been
even
around a
if we
long
don't
time.
like the publisher.
He's a relationship therapist, and it's just a really beautiful book about like getting rid of the I and we, the I and me in a relationship, and getting more to the us. And he makes this like big claim that a lot of the problem in the United States is rugged individualism, and that.
I heard something about this.
And that
Yeah.
people he lambasts us all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That people
Yeah.
who go towards conservatism are pro freestanding rugged individualist, and people who lean towards liberalism are romantic rugged individualists, and that it is our individualism that is pulling us apart in every aspect of our country.
Was this an interview on one of the NPR
I could
shows?
see that, absolutely.
Because I think I heard something like this week about because those terms about the individualism versus community.
Yeah,
Mindfulness was.
I love this book for what it had to do with its main topic, but I also really loved that characterization of what's going on in the world around us right now. And it has made me, just in the last 2 weeks since I read it, like think a lot more about making a we approach to something in every relationship. Okay, next, more fun. I Feed the Beast and the Beast is Me by Jameson Shea. And this is about a ballerina who makes a deal with a demon
Ooh.
to succeed.
Like Black Swan?
Yes,
And
but more.
Okay.
Like
Oh, wow.
there's no hint of it being psychoses.
Okay, got it.
It is a demon.
It's a demon. What is it called? I Feed the...
I Feed the Beast and the Beast is Me. It's very good, and there'll be more.
Okay.
So she's building a world in there. They're kind of in common with, but more so in this book, where the characters are not, because like I kind of felt that in We Deserve Monuments, is that
I feed her to the beast?
no, I'm pretty sure it's I Feed the Beast.
The internet is telling me it's I feed her to the beast and the beast is me.
Okay, that sounds great. I see the cover
Yeah.
there. I will agree with you. This character's almost not likable because you see all sides of her, like her good intentions and her selfish intentions. So she's almost like a chaotic neutral almost. It was good. I recommend.
Okay.
The Mountains and the Sea by Ray Naylor. This is more than the cover leads you to believe, but it's not as far off as some other books we read. The book back of the cover is like, what if there were sentient octopuses in the ocean? This is bigger than that. It's more about like control of information, the effects of AI on society. One great person, are they human? Are they more than themselves? And could there be sentient octopuses culture that has been developing alongside us, which that was also
100%. Yes.
really cool. Really cool.
Did either of you see Resident Alien?
Yes.
Okay, so the octopus makes sense.
But have you also seen My Octopus Teacher, right?
Yeah.
But I love
that.
eating octopuses.
Oh,
They're so good.
they are.
Yeah, if it's prepared well, it's so good.
Can you just tell your... No, there's no way to end that sentence
But
without
pigs
it
are
being
smart
bad.
too when we eat them.
That's true.
And they are delicious also.
I don't talk about that. I was just talking about how delicious pork belly is.
Well, when Animal Farm enacts and the pigs find this recording,
No.
they're just going to come for Anne. Katie was like, pigs are gross.
Yeah. No, I didn't say that. Dear pig overlords, I think you're very smart.
Not at all tasty.
Yeah, no. I'm not. I don't like ham. I never eat bacon. That's not true.
She said banana pudding. And,
Yeah.
How could you go? I bet you guys
Not
could-
the biggest fan of a pork chop. I mean, I'd eat it if somebody made it for me, but
Now you're down.
damn it.
If it's got like a lot of fat and the bone and it's been breaded and deep
Go
fried
for
and
Karen
crispy.
first.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
I'm a bacon lover.
Octopi, octopuses, they got me already. So you watch out for the piggies.
I only eat dumplings. not true.
Filled with.
Filled with what?
Oh, you mean like little soup dumplings, not...
No, dumb
No, dumb
things.
things.
Stupid animals.
I'm so sorry. I heard dumplings.
That
I was like, filled with what? I don't know.
Cows.
I think we need to wrap things up.
Okay.
Idiocy. They're filled with idiocy.
They're filled with dumb.
I just have 2 more books. Legends and Lattes, great. Loved it. The Other Black Girl.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, did you read it or are you watching the show?
No.
I haven't watched the show.
No, I thought I read it. Maybe.
It was a long road to an interesting twist.
Yes.
It's an
I
interesting
did. I
concept.
did read it. I did read it. Yeah.
It was a long, long slog. And I thought when I read Thriller that I had, it actually says more thrilling version of A Devil Wears Prada. It's interesting.
It was interesting.
I liked the twist.
I
liked the ending, but it was a long road to it.
I liked the way it made me think. And maybe
Yes.
because I was listening to it while I was doing other things, it didn't feel long because sometimes my brain is multitasking.
Well, I realized at the beginning I kept expecting something to happen because I thought it was a thriller.
Yeah.
Oh. You just saw the word thrill and we're like, okay.
Readings for seconds. I didn't read the whole quote. But it does actually sort of turn out to be a thriller with the twist at the end. Now I'm a monster. I told you there's a twist at the end. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
Okay, I'm done.
What are we reading next, Karen?
But what? Say, but what?
But most books have a lot of good books have a twist.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not unexpected.
What have I spoiled?
Yeah, really. So our next book is by Álvaro Enrigue. You Dreamed of Empires.
Of empires.
Of Empires.
I thought you said vampires.
Well, there's none of that in there.
Oh, okay.
So it's a funny. It's sort of a. Y'all said you liked heists, right?
I love a heist.
Okay.
It's a historical type, funny comedy heist. One morning in 1519, the conquistador Hernán Cortés enters.
Sorry.
This next
Continue.
word, Tenochtitlan. I cannot say it. Today's Mexico City. Cool. Later that day, he will meet the Emperor Moctezuma in a collision of 2 worlds, 2 empires, and 2 possible futures. Cortés is accompanied by his captains, his troops, his prized horses, and his 2 translators. Aguilar, a taciturn friar, and Malinali, an enslaved strategic Nahua princess. After nearly bungling their entrance to the city, the Spaniards are greeted at a ceremonial welcome meal by the steely Aztec princess. Okay, Atotoxtl. I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. I tried earlier, but sister and wife of Moctezuma. As they await their meeting with the emperor, who is at a political and spiritual crossroads and relies on hallucinogens to get by, Cortés and his entourage are ensconced in the labyrinthine palace. Soon one of Cortés's captains, Jasmine Caldera, overwhelmed by the grandeur of the place, begins to question the ease with which they were welcomed into the city and wonders at their chances of getting out alive, much less conquering the empire. And what if they don't? You Dreamed of Vampires brings the
Tenochtitlan.
what she said, to life and reimagines its destiny. The incomparable original Álvaro Enrigue sets afire the moment of conquest and turns it into a moment of revolution. Someone else say that word.
Restitutive.
Thank you. Fantastical counterattack in a novel so electric and so inventive that it feels like a dream. So the author himself is a Mexican writer who has been this is a review of a lot of his stuff, and he's just really well. I heard him talking about this book on NPR because I listen to a lot of NPR in the mornings.
Nice.
And it just sounded so intriguing. There's a
Looks short and sweet.
Yeah, the audiobook I was just looking up is 6.5 hours.
Sweet.
That's very easy to get through.
217 pages.
Nice.
I was laughing when you started reading because the conquistador's name is Hernan Cortez.
Cortez.
Hernan was my first boyfriend in high school. That was his name.
Oh, I
And
thought
I've never met anybody else with that name.
Hernan. Not Hernando, but Hernan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone said that there's some humorous twists to this because, of course, every book should have a twist.
Sure.
I want to read the first book because he's the author of Sudden Death. So I don't know what that's about, but it's highly acclaimed. One reviewer called this brain spinning, and that might be what's reflective on the cover. It has a horse that looks like it's like a toy horse that's half sinking into a bunch of hypnotic spirals. And maybe that has to do with the hallucinogens.
Sure.
Cool.
I suppose we'll find out.
Mind bending. So that is our book.
Cool.
Hope y'all like it. I hope I will like it too.
Yeah, we'll talk about it next month. So check with us in 2 weeks when we have our regular podcast episode out. Thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring this episode again. And if you read that book or any of the books we've talked about, we would love to hear from you. And I think that's it. So we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye. Good night.